Welcome to today's webinar. Thank you for joining us for our first webinar between GeoMarvel and Lucinetic. Our topic today is titled Enhancing GIS Workflows with Generative AI, Practical Applications of Spatial.Host and Luci AI. Our conversation today will highlight cutting-edge technologies surrounding GIS and artificial intelligence by demonstrating Lucinetic's Luci AI integration with GeoMarvel and Spatial.Host platform. My name is Carolyn Gamble, and I'm the Associate Director of Services with GeoMarvel, and I'm pleased to be your moderator today. Today's webinar format will include speakers from both Lucinetic and GeoMarvel showcasing their technology and demonstrating the integration of their software. Both companies will have an opportunity to present, and we will have several rounds of Q&A. Before we jump into things, I'd like to give a brief introduction of each of the companies that'll be presenting today, and starting with GeoMarvel. So GeoMarvel is an award-winning geospatial software development, GIS solution service provider, and Esri Gold Tier business partner based out of the Washington, D.C. area. They specialize in GIS-focused workforce optimization, cloud infrastructure, data analysis, computation, and custom application and visualization development. GeoMarvel wields over 30 years of industry experience to confidently build scalable infrastructure and software solutions, and their portfolio is composed of entities ranging from members of Fortune 500 companies to international nonprofits, disaster relief organizations, to large utility companies, local governments, and startups. Our other presenter today is Lucinetic. And Lucinetic is an award-winning firm specializing in creating business value through advanced technical solutions such as machine learning, predictive and numerical modeling, artificial intelligence, and data analytics. Their team consists of world-class researchers, analysts, and industry veterans from institutions like Caltech, Oracle, McKinsey, government agencies, and hedge funds. Lucinetic's proprietary technologies, including GeoAI and Stats AI, enhance decision-making, streamline workflows, and maximize the value of data for both technical and non-technical teams. In addition to its own AI-powered chat interfaces, Lucinetic provides sophisticated automation solutions and comprehensive consulting services. The firm works closely with companies to refine the business value of implementing these technologies, ensuring they deliver measurable commercial impact and long-term success. So I'd like to talk briefly about how these two companies came together and before we jump into the rest of our presentation today. So the GeoMarvel and Lucinetic CEOs were initially introduced through mutual contact with the Esri Emerging Business Partner Program. Esri was aware that Lucinetic was working on AI and thought they could potentially use some technical support with the Esri runtime SDKs, and that GeoMarvel may be a good fit to assist them. Meeting up again, this time at the Esri User Conference, the idea was born to integrate Lucinetic's AI with GeoMarvel's Spatial.Host application. The CEOs realized there was a greater opportunity to integrate Lucinetic's AI within GIS products and applications versus having it as a standalone product. And since then, GeoMarvel has been working with Lucinetic to integrate Luci AI into Spatial.Host, as well as to collaborate on packaging jumpstart opportunities for GIS organizations interested in integrating AI. The foundation of GeoMarvel and Lucinetic's partnerships is based on the mutual goals of collaborating to make data more accessible to users, make processes more accessible to users, and help non-technical people be able to manage their own GIS infrastructure. So with that, I'd like to turn things over to our presenters and have them briefly introduce themselves, discuss how they got involved in their business or industry, and then we'd like to have you guys answer a question of what was the last concert that you went to, so we can get to know you all a little bit better. So Dalton, why don't I start with you?
Sounds good. Thanks, Carolyn. My name's Dalton Bloom. I'm with GeoMarvel. I'm our Director of Managed Services. So a little overview of what I take on at the company is really helping, both new organizations and existing organizations navigate the ecosystem of GIS. Maybe they're starting in ArcGIS Online and need to understand the path to navigate to ArcGIS Enterprise or vice versa. So really helping them understand the end-to-end workflow and what they should be considering as they get into the space. The last concert I went to, I'm local to Durango, Colorado here and near the Four Corners. So there's a local electronic artist named called Baby Dell that is out here. So I went to a Halloween concert a couple weeks back, which was a lot of fun.
Excellent. All right, why don't we turn over to Konstantin?
Yeah, thanks, Carolyn. Yeah, I'm Konstantin. I am the head of technology here at Lucinetic, and in parallel, I'm also a professor of planetary astrophysics at Caltech. And my real passion is working with Greg, BJ, and other members of our team to integrate, artificial intelligence and methods of machine learning into practical, practical applications, and really empower GIS and other things with the kind of next gen level of usability. And the last concert I went to was a band called Starset, which perfectly fuse kind of electronica and a little bit of metal and a lot of sci-fi into a mind-blowing show.
That sounds
So maybe at this point I'll maybe pass it on to Greg.
Thanks, Konstantin. Yes, I'm Greg Laughlin. I'm chief scientist at Lucinetic. I was a planetary scientist at NASA, and then I was astronomy and planetary science professor for many years at Yale. Recently, I've sort of migrated into the tech industry just because I'm so interested in the kind of techniques that are starting to become available with artificial intelligence. The last show that I went to was the Jesus and Mary chain in Brooklyn last month, and I'm kind of actually pleased to report that I'd seen them 32 years earlier, and they've actually gotten better in the interim.
That's awesome. I remember listening to them in high school. Excellent. Well, very glad to have you both here. And I think our last presenter is BJ.
Yeah, hi. I'm BJ Fulton, and my background comes from astrophysics as well. That's how I met these guys, Konstantin and Greg, through astrophysics at Caltech. My side gig now is a research scientist at NASA as well. But I've been really interested in AI over the last couple of years. Like Greg, just seeing the applications and the variety of things you can apply it to is amazing. And the speed at which this technology moves is really amazing and exciting to me. So I've been working with this for the past couple of years. We started out trying to solve problems in academia, and now we've slowly moved into solving geospatial problems. It's a really interesting field to get into, and there's so many applications for this across so many different industries that we think it's a really good opportunity.
Excellent. Great to have you all here. Super excited for the conversation today. I think we're going to start with Dalton to talk a bit about GeoMarvel and provide a demo of Spatial.Host. So Dalton, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Sounds good. Okay, so we'll kind of hit the high level again, the overview, who we are as GeoMarvel. I know Carolyn introduced us, but I want to add a little visual aid here. So we've been an Esri business partner since 2015, so coming right up on a decade there. And through our time as an Esri business partner, have kind of grown through from silver up to gold partner level with Esri, which is always great. We've kind of collected a number of accolades along the way, including a number of specialties. So really working with a diverse range of industries across the GIS ecosystem. So from nonprofits to state and local governments to the commercial and utility sectors as well. And something we're really proud of is a couple of our Esri Partner Awards. So we were the 2020 System Implementation Award, really helping Esri business partners navigate the GIS waters and the ecosystem and technology, identifying what suits their needs, what technology, licensing, and patterns really fit the script for them. And then most recently in 2023, we were the Partner to Partner Collaboration winner, award winners as well. And that really, I think, just kind of backs up our business mindset of really helping to connect different partners. Whether we have the solution or not, we are going to find the right path for an incoming partner to navigate the waters and talk to the people that they need to. We are a fully remote company that went fully remote within the last couple of years, and we spread across 12 states in the U.S., East Coast to West Coast. We touched all time zones, and recently, as of 2022, have expanded into Canada as well, so starting to expand the footprint up there. A little bit about GeoMarvel, and basically we have a few core pillars that we operate in. So we have a range of professional services here. So from the top left, our ArcGIS system implementation. This includes anything from the installation and configuration of, let's say, ArcGIS Enterprise or ArcGIS Online and Enterprise collaborations, workflows, kind of visualizing things from a higher level for a given organization. This could include data management, helping to get data in a proper format to get into the ArcGIS marketplace, for example, assisting with GIS and analysis workflows, both in the desktop and web format, in addition to COTS and custom application development as well. On the top right, we have GIS trainings and workshops. So here's where we offer a range of different training opportunities for clients. Let's say someone's coming in the door and they need to know 0 to 100 on ArcGIS Hub or ArcGIS Enterprise, or let's say ArcGIS Velocity. So we really try to stay on the cutting edge of technology as it's evolving and things are changing within the ecosystem, so we can be well positioned to empower other organizations with that knowledge so they can use that in their GIS workflows. As we move down to the bottom right, we've got GIS Managed Services. Again, this is the pillar that I lead in the organization. So this really comes down to a lot of infrastructure implementation and maintenance from the ArcGIS Enterprise perspective. And that includes regular patching, maintenance, health checks of the system, troubleshooting issues. As you are probably very familiar with in the technology space, things aren't always going to work smoothly out of the gate. So we help navigate those waters with the organizations that we operate with under a managed service engagement. And then custom app development, definitely a huge aspect of our organization as well, from front to back end development, web, mobile, desktop applications, ArcGIS Pro add-ins, really across the board, helping organizations identify some of those custom needs and then where the ArcGIS platform and associated technologies fit in there. From the system implementation side, just to double down here a little bit, that really crosses a range of the application types in the ecosystem. So from ArcGIS Online, Enterprise, ArcGIS Platform, maybe you just need certain microservices from this offering to build into your custom workflow, custom application. We work with a range of configurable applications, so all those COTS products, commercial off the shelf, from dashboards, experience builder, story maps, etc. ArcGIS Pro and desktop, really helping folks navigate the waters there. There can be a lot of different workflow options within these applications, so helping them understand the path forward that's going to be best suited for them. And then just highlighting on that common life cycle. So when we're kicking off with a new organization, new client, getting into GIS, let's say, we're really starting from the architecture and design perspective. What does this look like from a high level? How can we visualize the end-to-end workflow of where you're starting and where you want to go? Then we'll get in the weeds and really help to develop, iterate on the install and configuration of the tools, help with any data analysis, visualizations. Maybe we're getting into the COT space a little bit, publish and deploy, and then automate, support, and provide maintenance as we run forward there. And on the application development side, so our professional services pillar of the organization, really a ton of experience here dating back about a decade to date. So in that time, again, we've assisted on the implementation and build out of web, mobile, desktop applications, counting over 150 plus to date. So definitely moving more into the mobile space, I would say. So the 55% web applications, 45% mobile, definitely seeing the mobile application percentage growing over time here. But in this, really helping folks understand real-time and offline data capabilities, how they can better align their workforce for field to desktop workflows, and then keeping things automated in tune all along the way. From the GIS Managed Services perspective, high level here, right, we've got a little bit of insight on some potential architecture patterns from standalone ArcGIS server sites to a single or multi-machine ArcGIS Enterprise deployment. And really what we're doing is meeting each organization at the level that they're at today. Are they ready for ArcGIS Enterprise? Are they ready for a scaled ArcGIS Enterprise infrastructure? What are their primary goals? So overall, what we're aiming to do is boost their productivity, make sure that they are being cost efficient with their understanding of what they're getting into with the GIS infrastructure. There are definitely licensing costs, infrastructure costs. So really understanding where they are from a budget perspective and meeting them where they're at, so that we aren't giving them more licensing than they need, for example. The 24/7 support perspective, we definitely engage with our clients at all times of day with our like ticketing system. So submitting support tickets and then getting that support, real-time support, making sure that they are feeling heard and they have the support they need to continue with their GIS workflows to get unroadblocked if there was a technology hurdle. Maintaining security and compliance, so really locking down these systems, making sure everything from RDP access and network capabilities are all locked down as much as possible. And then access to expertise is really the name of the game here. Is what we try to do is have ongoing knowledge transfer with all of our organizations and clients that we work with, so that there's no black box here. We're not gatekeeping knowledge. I'd rather share the knowledge and empower the client to grow into their own rather than having to rely on us in the long run. So I think there's opportunities there to just continue to elevate GIS. Within GIS managed services, really what you get here is 1 to 3 technical resources, that initial enterprise health assessment. So maybe you're coming in with an on-prem ArcGIS enterprise infrastructure and you want to get to the cloud. We will assess the current health of the infrastructure and start to then develop that roadmap. What does it look like? What are the stepping stones we need to take in order to move from on-prem to the cloud? Offering monthly patching, maintenance, health checks, monitoring, log review, really keeping a pulse check on the system for health and infrastructure and the growing needs of the organization. Establishing biweekly or monthly cadence calls to stay in tune across the board with action items, priorities. Direct team-to-team communication is a big one, whether that's through our support portal for opening a ticket and we're real-time responding with you, or maybe we're setting up a Slack channel so we can get that real-time communication. That's always helpful. Annual ArcGIS license renewals are always critical, so we keep tabs on expiration dates and really maintain a good practice on staying ahead of expirations, making sure we're brokering conversations with Esri on license renewals as needed, making sure you have what you need. And then annual ArcGIS Enterprise upgrades. So as new versions of ArcGIS Enterprise are released, there are always version dependencies across the board. Maybe it's databases, maybe it's cloud servers, on-prem servers. So we keep tabs on where you are today and what the pros and cons of a given upgrade would be, but offering those annual upgrades here as well. The administration assistance throughout the engagement, and then, like I said, ongoing knowledge transfer, I think, is a huge aspect. Want to dive into a demo here of Spatial.Host. So we will jump in right now. So Spatial.Host is a geospatial hosting platform for GIS organizations. So I like to think about it as in, if you were going to go create a website today, maybe you're going to go to Bluehost and you're creating a website, but you are abstracted from the servers in the cloud that are actually getting spun up for the support of your website. So Spatial.Host is the same concept, but from a GIS format. So thinking about, if we were to go spin up ArcGIS Enterprise today without Spatial.Host, you need to have insights or access to a cloud architect. You need to have, let's say, an AWS account or Azure account. You need to understand the virtual private cloud, the network, the IP configuration, the internet gateway. There's a lot of aspects there that you don't need to necessarily be an expert in as you get into the Spatial.Host ecosystem, because it operates like a Bluehost would, where you're going to the self-service hosting platform, the interface, which we'll demo here in a minute, and choosing the applications here that you would like to spin up. And then behind the scenes, Spatial.Host is reaching out to the AWS or the Azures, the cloud hosting providers, to spin up the server resources to support your application. So really abstracting end users from the need to be a cloud architect. But at quick glance here, some of the highlight technologies in Spatial.Host today. ArcGIS Enterprise being a very big one, because that's either single or multi-machine deployments, and we're supporting anything from 10.9.1 all the way up to 11.4, which was just released here in the last couple of weeks. Standalone ArcGIS servers, including server roles, image server, knowledge server, some of the enterprise geodatabase types, so SQL and Postgres, including then we have some of the developer editions of applications such as Experience Builder or Web App Builder. And ones that we're iterating on now would include application types like ArcGIS Mission or ArcGIS Monitor. which are going to be, I would foresee, very, very big positive growth technologies within Spatial.Host. Also, ArcGIS Server 123 on-prem, and then integrating with partners in the ecosystem such as GeoJob and their admin tools on-prem as well. ArcGIS Pro Workstation's another big one to highlight here. I know this is definitely a limitation for users who are on a Mac, let's say. You can't install ArcGIS Pro on a Mac, therefore maybe you need this Pro Workstation in the cloud. Or if I just needed a workstation for my organization that has a lot of CPU and RAM because I have very intensive, let's say, analysis that I need to run rather than bogging down a local computer, can kind of use this in the cloud and take advantage of those cloud resources. And really, it should be this easy. So setting up your account, creating an application, configure and provision those applications, and click deploy, and then you're off and running. You can view, access your application. Maybe that's ArcGIS Enterprise. Maybe that's Survey 123 on-prem. And in a few quick, easy steps, you're already using your application here. And what Spatial.Host really offers here, and we'll see more of this in the demo, is that self-service platform. So this is an example, an image here of the platform itself, where you, as an end user, can log in and deploy any one of these applications on your own. So you can automate that deployment with a few inputs of, let's say, some of your preferred domains or URLs for ArcGIS Enterprise, let's say. But within here, you've got custom user roles and permissions for the Spatial.Host platform itself, abstracted from ArcGIS Enterprise licensing. And you have the ability to stop and start and delete these applications. So one example to highlight the positive use case of that would be, maybe I'm an organization on ArcGIS Enterprise 11.3 today, and I have some third-party integrations that I don't know. I want to discover how well they play with 11.4. I could spin up an 11.4 application, test them with my third-party integration, verify that that works properly before we would determine to upgrade our production environment. We can then go ahead and delete that application if we're all said and done with it. Some features, capabilities here. So again, self-service cloud hosting, automated backups, deployments and backups. So really working with the GeoMarvel team on some of the backup and retention policies. We have 24/7 monitoring in here. So real-time system monitoring for the cloud servers themselves from a CPU, RAM, etc. perspective. Users can bring in their own custom DNS and SSL certificates into the platform. And it offers the self-service security controls. Maybe I want to control which IP addresses have RDP access into an ArcGIS Pro Workstation, for example. Who gets to access that? I get to dictate that from my organization's perspective. And then maintenance and patching. So built in with the managed services program as well from the Spatial.Host perspective. So from the backup and recovery standpoint, really want to make sure that everyone has that self-service ability to determine what their backup and retention policies are on each of their application types here. And then from the security perspective, we have the option to set up both public or private clouds. There's the self-service capability to control both inbound and outbound rules. That includes, RDP and TCP connections and access. And then we have that real-time security monitoring as mentioned. An aspect of this, as well as you get deeper into the GIS realm and ecosystem and have, let's say, ArcGIS Enterprise infrastructure, is understanding that there are definitely times throughout the GIS journey for vertical and or horizontal scaling. So vertical scaling from a perspective of increasing the CPU and RAM of a single server or a multiple servers, let's say for a multi-machine ArcGIS Enterprise environment, is definitely critical. Maybe you have an application that just went public. I think about the Johns Hopkins COVID dashboard, that it's going to get a lot of attention, and you need to make sure that your services, maps, and applications can support that increased demand. And there's also the option for horizontal scaling. So kind of the join site method for ArcGIS Server or Portal for ArcGIS that just expands those resources horizontally and divides the load out. So both of these definitely have application in Spatial.Host. And then monitoring and uptime. As mentioned, this is real-time monitoring of the servers and systems in Spatial.Host that are deployed for organizations as well. So we can see there's a spike on, last night at 1 a.m. We want to go cross-reference with the local logs and see what might have happened at that time. So we have real-time insights, and this is end user organization facing. And then the customer support portal. So this really is built in with managed services at GeoMarvel. So offering that ability to open a ticket. Hey, I'm unable to publish from ArcGIS Pro to ArcGIS Enterprise. Can you help me navigate the issue? Or maybe I'm having a licensing issue, or I know there's a renewal coming up. Having this as that 24/7 option, open a ticket, talk to an account manager, make sure that everything is squared away and get your needs taken care of. And then the community aspect. So this is a growing area for Spatial.Host that I would say is continuing to evolve as we move forward on the roadmap, but really having a community-centric aspect to Spatial.Host that offers insights on knowledge-based articles, support articles. So just kind of building on the community aspect, making sure users have the ability to collaborate together as well. And then I'm going to jump into a quick Spatial.Host demo here. Try not to take too much time. Okay, so with the Spatial.Host demo aspect of the webinar here, wanted to show you the initial interface. So this is what you'll see as an end user logging into your Spatial.Host account as you get rolling with the infrastructure here. So from a dashboard perspective, you can see which organization you're currently tied into, what your email username tied in here are, plus who your account manager from the GeoMarvel side is, and your primary technical support lead. So right from this interface, I could jump to my portal, which I'll demo here in a minute, and that's where we can deploy new applications, manage existing applications, etc. I could jump to my community portal, as we'll also discuss a little bit, as we saw in the slides, kind of getting in that community aspect that we want to iterate on as we continue on the roadmap with Spatial.Host. I can see which applications I have deployed here at a glance. I can also open a ticket. So I can open a support ticket in regards to my ArcGIS Enterprise deployment or other applications. I do have the real-time monitoring aspect here that we can see from response times over the course of the past year, 30 days, 1 week, and today. Looking at my uptime, I know there's a lot of service level agreements out there for enterprise uptime needs that need to be accounted for, in addition to how many incidents may have occurred over each of these time spans. And I can, as we continue with the roadmap of Spatial.Host, we'll add the ability here to add in documents. Let's say this is an architecture diagram for current state ArcGIS Enterprise and maybe a future state ArcGIS Enterprise that you're planning for and iterating for. The Connections tab, allowing you to kind of build in connections with other ArcGIS Enterprise environments, maybe an ArcGIS Online, kind of keeping these staged here. The team aspects, who from my team, who from GeoMarvel can log in here and help to kind of iterate on our Spatial.Host deployment applications and resource groups. The support perspective, which we'll link out to the portal aspect today, that's where we can look at existing tickets, manage tickets, billing as well, which I'll show you from the portal aspect, really helps you get that at-a-glance view of billing, which we'll demo here in a minute. And then the GeoAI functionality with Lucinetic. So using Luci GeoAI directly in this interface to help, really be that AI, GIS AI tool in your tool belt. So they'll get into a demo here shortly to kind of explain further how this technology works. As we go back to the dashboard and I go into my portal, this will take me over to my interface to actually deploy, manage, and start and stop these applications. So you can see from this perspective, we're looking at GeoMarvel's account in the top right, and I have my organization tab where I can see my different resource groups, users, etc. To get an understanding of resource groups, I would think about it from, let's say, an ArcGIS Enterprise lens, where you may have a development, staging, and production environment. I would split those out by resource groups. Your development environment resource group may have multiple applications for your development, testing, iteration, deployments, and so on and so forth for staging and production. We can see our list of users that have access. We can see our tickets within the system. We can see then our limits. So there's different tiers of Spatial.Host. as well. So giving you different amounts of resource groups, applications, and users here. And if we just dive into one of the resource groups and the application within this, we have an ArcGIS Enterprise 11.3 that is running today. If I go ahead and click into here, I can get some real-time insights on the version of ArcGIS Enterprise, what's my operating system, what's the architecture, single machine, multi-machine, real-time reading of the disk space, C and D drive on this machine, my portal links, portal admin links, server admin, and then a big aspect of this is being able to stop this. Maybe I want to stop my application on nights and weekends to save on cloud costs. You can do that right from here. Again, I can review my monitoring from this interface as well. What's going on from the CPU, RAM, etc. perspective. I can review and update my licenses right from the interface, both the server and portal licensing here. Go ahead and take a look at my tickets that are being fielded by the GeoMarvel Managed Services team, and then look at any security group configurations I have for this given application. And then one more thing I just want to touch on here is real-time insights to the cloud costs associated. So a couple of key notes on Spatial.Host. It is bring your own licensing. So you're still working with Esri to provision the proper licensing for ArcGIS Enterprise, et cetera, whatever you are bringing to the table here. And then through Spatial.Host is where you'll deploy and then license those applications. And it is passed through cloud costs. So you get real-time insight. Let's look here, see costs. Real-time insight to the day of what your cloud costs are and where they're being spent. We can see virtual private cloud, Route 53, some load balancers, EC2s, et cetera. So this is, I think, a very critical aspect of Spatial.Host that gives that insight for maybe it's a nonprofit organization that has a very hard cap on a monthly spend in their cloud costs. So giving that real-time insight here lets them understand to the day where they are in their spend. We do offer out-of-the-box DNS from the Spatial.Host and GeoMarvel perspective, but getting this on your own organization's domain is definitely a huge part of this. The last thing I will show here is if we go to our applications, the easy process of standing up a new application. So if I go in my demo environment resource group, you can see I have an enterprise spinning right now. I could go ahead and add a new application. So within here, you're going to be able to see our list of available applications in addition to what are coming soon here. So let's say ArcGIS Enterprise, for example. I want to spin up a net new ArcGIS Enterprise system. Maybe I want to go test some functionality back in 11.1. So I could go select my ArcGIS Enterprise 11.1. And then from here, I give my application a name. I provide details on the DNS, what I want my enterprise portal domain to be, and my server domain. We have a couple out-of-the-box DNS options, like I said, from the Spatial.Host GeoMarvel perspective, but you can bring your own DNS as well. And then you'll go through the couple steps, choose deployment type. This will expand to multi-machine deployments at different infrastructure sizes. And then choosing volume size for a C and a D drive, and then getting some insights here. But then with a few clicks in 20 to 30 minutes, you are logged into your ArcGIS Enterprise system and off and running.
All right, thank you, Dalton. That was really interesting and great to see the functionality that Spatial.Host has and how easy it is to spin up an environment, an enterprise environment. I know how long it normally takes, the manual process, but one of the questions that we often get is, how does the licensing work? I know you touched on this a little bit, but if I purchase Spatial.Host, do I get some Esri licensing along with that, or how does that work specifically? Do I have to?
Yep, that's definitely a common question we get. So it is bring your own licensing. So I did touch on this briefly, but to reiterate there, you'll still work directly with Esri to provision your, let's say, ArcGIS Enterprise licensing. Maybe it's ArcGIS, maybe you get some portal licensing, server, image server, et cetera. You'll still work directly with Esri, bring your own licensing to the Spatial.Host platform, and then you will be prompted to input that licensing as you are provisioning, let's say, an ArcGIS Enterprise application in the Spatial.Host interface.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying that. So, all right. So with that, I think we're going to hand things over to Konstantin to talk about Lucinetic. So Konstantin, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Carolyn. So Lucinetic, we are a firm that helps businesses ultimately unlock value through modern, cutting edge technologies, machine learning, predictive modeling, artificial intelligence, data analysis, that kind of thing. And our team is composed of a number of seasoned professionals, right, spanning both academia and industry. And we've developed proprietary tools such as GeoAI and Stats AI that make decisions making smarter and workflows more efficient and data more impactful for all kinds of teams, whether they are technical or not technical. And beyond our kind of baseline product of AI-powered chatbots, we also offer an advanced automation solution and tailored consulting services. So we work hand in hand with companies of varied types to ensure that technologies we design are practical, secure, and built to last, focusing on delivering real, practical, long-term business value. So perhaps we could begin the discussion by me passing it over to Greg, who can talk a little bit more about the foundations of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and what we do here at Lucinetic.
Thanks, Constantine. Yeah, so it's easy to get an overwhelmed feeling when it comes to AI. I was reading the Wall Street Journal this morning and looking at the ads that they were serving me, and there was all this stuff from IBM, and I am a deep learning professional, and I didn't know what they were talking about, right? And so there's just this kind of feeling of being overwhelmed by information, by solutions, by problems, and by jargon. And so what I wanted to do is just kind of start by looking under the hood just a little bit and kind of getting some firm ideas in mind that kind of help guide us and will help us explain what's going on under the hood with our products for ArcGIS. So this isn't the kind of slide that you expect to see in a webinar, and it'll go fairly quickly. But I wanted to sort of bring us around to the fundamental problem of AI. And normally, Don Quixote, this book that was published in 1605, is not something that one normally thinks about when one is thinking about artificial intelligence. But the very beginning of this book is something that's highly, highly relevant to the current moment. So this sort of phrasing here is something that was very, very popular in 16th century Spain and 17th century Spain. It's called versos de cabo rato. And the idea here is that you have a poem and you're supposed to fill in the last syllable of each line. Now, I'm not a Spanish speaker, as you can tell from the way I pronounce those Spanish words. And so this is a hard task for me. Somebody who knows Spanish, somebody who's versed in the history, can look at this and can go through a thought process that allows them to fill in the last syllables of these lines. And what's not at all clear yet is exactly what goes on under the hood when you make the decisions to add each syllable that makes sense. You're drawing not on just the individual words themselves, but you're also drawing on this entire large base of knowledge, of Spanish, of history, of all the things that go into being a success with this very, very specific and narrow task. And the sort of problem for so long with artificial intelligence is that it was clear sort of what you would need to do, what kind of information you would need to draw on, but it was completely not understood how the thought process works. And it was completely not understood how that thought process could be translated to a computer algorithm. In 2017, less than a decade ago, that all changed completely. There was this famous paper by Google researchers where they developed this architecture, this computational framework called the transformer. And to sort of front a cliche, the transformer has been completely transformative. And what it has done, it has allowed us to understand in granular detail how one way of getting out the thought process works. There's almost certainly other ways. This is not what's going on inside the human brain, but it has suddenly become clear that if you throw enough compute at the problem, and if you use this architecture, then all of a sudden you get systems that start to solve problems. Let's play this animation here, and I'll just show a problem that I've been interested in very recently. This is an astronomical problem, not an ArcGIS problem, but a lot of the aspects here are similar. What's going on in this left-hand frame here is there's a bunch of pictures taken by a telescope that's orbiting in space. And those pictures, each one has a very faint object over here on the right, but they have to be stacked and moved in a way that allows this point right here to slowly build up and this object to sort of emerge out of noise. This is a computational task that's very tricky, and it involves all sorts of things that you have to do. You have to register the frames, you have to download all the software, and most importantly, you have to have like a PhD in astronomy to understand what to do, to tell a artificial intelligence model how to solve the problem. But we've gotten to the point where artificial intelligence can solve the problem. And so, I had a very specific question after I had trained and given it all sorts of context and been very expertful in setting the problem up. When I'd done that, I was able to get back an answer that made sense and was immediately actionable. And this process of having an artificial intelligence do what you want is incredibly powerful. It's transformative. And so at Lucinetic, our goal was to make a software system like ArcGIS, which is very, very complicated, usable so that even people without extremely advanced training, without a PhD, can go in and without a huge amount of software experience or coding, can solve real problems and important problems. So that's the kind of the motivation for our thinking. And the key to making this work is not just to have a single artificial intelligence agent like ChatGPT-4, but rather a whole network of agents that talk to each other under the hood, that solve problems, discuss under the hood, and kind of like elevate the thinking that one of them can do to a much more integrated and coherent and ultimately useful product. So that's what we're kind of what's going on under the hood, and that's what we'll be showing you in our demos. So I'll kind of pass the baton from there.
All right, thank you so much, Greg, and looking forward to learning more and seeing Luci AI in action with BJ's demo.
All right. So Dalton showed a little bit about Spatial.Host and gave a little tour of the front end interface here. We've been working together with GeoMarvel for a couple months here to integrate this into their system. And we've built here a chatbot that's designed to help users of all levels really use ArcGIS Pro to answer any geospatial question that they might have. So let's try it out. Okay, so say you were trying to understand how population density is related to median income across Los Angeles County, but you don't really know where to start to solve that problem. So maybe you'd ask a question like this to Luci AI. Basically the same thing you would ask any GIS expert. I'd like to understand how population density is related to median income in Los Angeles County. How would I go about answering this question? So there we go. It gives a nice detailed answer, basically outlining the workflow that you would take. So you would start by collecting data. It gives some suggestions on the types of data you might find interesting, like US Census Bureau data. It'll tell you, then you need to prepare the data, set up data visualization, do some spatial analysis and interpretation. This is very high level at this point. But the key is then you can drill down. You can ask follow-up questions about these individual things. And get started working on the problem. So first of all, it suggested the US Census data. So let's ask it just a simple general question about when was the last US Census conducted? Okay, that came back quick. It was in 2020, okay. It can even help you find specific data sets related to this problem. So let's ask it, could you help me find a data set derived from the census data that provides population density information for Los Angeles County? Okay, so it came back with a few options here. Each one of these is sort of a separate data set in the ArcGIS Online data. So it gives you a short description about each of these data sets. It tells you about the number of views that it's been used. And it also, notice it gives you a confidence of how confident it is that this data set is relevant to the question you asked. And not only just relevant to that particular question, but the whole conversation you've had with it. So the longer these conversations go, the better the results and the more customized they'll be for you. So you see this one is 2020 census data. Its confidence is medium. We have this one that gives census block groups in LA County. This looks like pretty high. This one also has it split up with a poverty aspect as well, and its confidence is medium. So then you could go and continue the workflow. You add these data sets to your maps in ArcGIS Pro, and then you can ask follow-up questions in order to continue the workflow and solve your geospatial problem. But now let's switch gears a little bit and show you how it can help out with some logistical questions as well. So let's say I'm trying to publish a map layer that I want to be used by others in our organization, but only in our organization. So let's ask it how I might, what are best practices for publishing reference layers to ArcGIS? And how can I ensure that the layer is only visible to members within my organization? Okay, so here we go. It gives again a nice general overview of how you would tackle this problem and gives you a workflow here. Again, prepare your data, use appropriate layer types. There's certain ones that are going to be easier to host. It gives you some tips on how to optimize performance. Tells you to make sure that your documentation and metadata is comprehensive and clear. And then it tells you how to make sure you set your sharing permissions right so that it's restricted to your organization. Of course, again, you can ask follow-up questions as you work through this general workflow to each one of these details and really get a step-by-step instruction on how you would perform that within ArcGIS Pro and ArcGIS Online. So now I might be curious, how much money is that going to cost, or will it cost ArcGIS Pro credits to host a reference layer like this? Okay, so it comes back and explains how ArcGIS Online credits work. Credits are consumed doing spatial analysis, geocoding, also storage. It points you to the online tools that help you estimate credit usage. Also, if you ask it detailed questions about a particular layer that you have hosted already, it can go through and estimate the cost as well using the online calculators that are available from Esri. So one of the unique capabilities of Luci AI over other large language model implementations is that it doesn't just rely on information that's available at the time the model was trained, but it also has real-time access to the latest documentation that ArcGIS has published online. So the answers will always contain the most up-to-date and relevant information available from Esri. For example, let's ask it about the latest version of ArcGIS Pro and ask it to summarize any new features that are available with that new version. Okay, so it came back, and the latest version of ArcGIS Pro is 3.4, and that's correct. It was just released a few weeks ago, I believe, in November. And it tells you about some of the new capabilities that ArcGIS Pro 3.4 has. Of course, again, you can ask follow-up questions for any of these things to get further details about specific features. So I hope I've covered a lot of the basic capabilities of Luci AI, but we've really only scratched the surface here. Luci AI is capable of assisting anyone with a wide variety of geospatial analysis tasks, anyone from seasoned experts to using a new tool to a complete novice who has never opened ArcGIS Pro before. So we're going to be rolling out Luci AI slowly to Spatial.Host customers over the next few months, and we invite you to experience it firsthand, challenge it with your toughest questions, and help us refine its capabilities with your feedback. Thanks, and I'll take any questions now.
All right. Thank you, BJ. Definitely interesting. And I do have a couple of follow-up questions that we've had come in before. So for the chat interface, how does that process work if we want to incorporate new data sources? So for example, like if I wanted to include weather in that interface, how does that process work?
Yeah, we're highly flexible incorporating new data sets. It just requires identifying the data formats, business needs, exactly how we might interpret that data, and then, of course, training the AI agent. New data sources can be configured by training the chatbot to connect to additional APIs or internal databases. Anything that's machine readable essentially is within the realm of possibility. Once a new data stream is integrated, the AI is then trained to recognize that format of the data and understand when a question that the user asks is relevant and it needs to go into that data source to answer that question. So we can, this allows businesses to continuously expand. We can add these integrations in a modular fashion, one at a time, so we continue to add new features as is needed by the business.
So how do you ensure security? So for example, if I have a proprietary external data feed, and I want to ensure security with that, how is that managed?
Yeah, security is a top priority at Lucinetic, and we're always thinking about that. First of all, we use enterprise-grade LLM APIs, and that ensures compliance with HIPAA and SOC 2 standards, and our models do not ever train on your data. We also partner with a cybersecurity firm called Aspire Cyber to enhance security further, providing robust protection through our secure APIs. All of your prompts are encrypted in transit. For additional security, we offer containerization to isolate the processes to your machines, data obfuscation and purging options as well to make sure no sensitive information is retained. And in a highly secure environment, we even have the ability to deploy and run these LLMs locally on your servers so that everything is in-house and nothing leaves.
Great, thank you. I do have a few final questions, and then we'll turn it over to each company to do a sort of final wrap up. The first question that I have then is back over to Dalton. Wondering what cloud hosting options does Spatial.Host offer?
And so I'd say today with Spatial.Host, it's built in AWS, but we are, as we talk roadmap, we will be iterating and moving into Azure and GCP as well in the future.
Okay. Question over to Constantine. This is a question that has come in the past, so I was posing this over to you. So our organization and managers are overwhelmed with AI and our data is a mess. Where would we even start?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's understandable, right? We understand how overwhelming the entire kind of tech landscape can be, especially with kind of limited time for a system setup. And so many of our clients are faced with this and begin with what we call the Jumpstart Plan. This is basically a consulting service tailored to address the unique business challenges and understand the commercial value. And only then, right, bring in automation and machine learning and numerical modeling and other things to solve the business need. So we start with an in-depth kind of discovery phase where we interview the teams, assess IT and operation workflows to identify key opportunities for automation. This way, what we are delivering ultimately is the thing that is needed. And then we provide kind of an actionable report with recommended technologies, a phased implementation plan, and recommended timeline, and of course pricing, and proof of concept prototype for the value driving solution. And ultimately, this allows you to move forward with Lucinetic internally or another partner. And we also offer direct integration of our chat interface tools like, Luci AI and Luci AI to solve specific issues like data analysis and workflow automations, along with professional services and workshops to ensure long-term success and ultimately, empower your team to do what they are doing.
So, thank you. Last question that I have here is for Greg. The question that's come in is, should I be worried that AI will take mine or my colleagues' jobs? How do I know that the information they give is accurate? And when do humans need to step in?
So I think that the very fact that you've watched all the way through the webinar means that AI is not going to take your job. And the reason is because if you have the initiative and the interest and the drive to do something, then the AI as it exists now and frankly, the way it's going to exist for the next 5 or so years into the future, permits you to completely elevate your influence and improve the things that you can do. So I'm a far better coder now that I have help from AI boosted tools. I can solve problems faster. What AI absolutely doesn't know is what to do. It knows how to do it, but it doesn't know what to do. And so the human in the loop is the person who's in charge, the person who's directing, the person who is guiding toward a solution that makes sense, or a solution that's profitable, towards a solution that provides utility. And so I'm very confident that, for the average person, who's engaged and who is eager to do things, AI is going to be absolutely beneficial. We really have solved the problem to a large degree of hallucination and inaccurate information. So guardrails that have been put in place, that are increasingly being put in place, as well as the sort of guardrails that we as a company that builds on top of language models can provide, make it very, very difficult for mistakes to slip through. That's by no means to say that they're impossible, but the rate at which they're coming in is vastly, vastly less than it was before. So, it's always unnerving. It's always sort of exciting and sort of uncertain when something as important as this comes along the bend. But my feeling is that we're set for some wonderful things to come, and that companies like Lucinetic and GeoMarvel can really help.
It sounds like it should be looked at as more of a partnership versus a competition.
Absolutely. Yeah. Together we're stronger.
Thank you. I'd like to thank each of our presenters. And before we go, I want to turn it over to Dalton and Constantine for some final thoughts and any closing statements. So Constantine, I'll start with you for any final thoughts.
Right. So I am just looking forward, quite thrilled about both the partnership that we have with GeoMarvel and the broader opportunities that lie ahead. As I have already mentioned previously in the webinar, right, the kind of entry point that we like to go through is the discovery and jumpstart package, where we come in and we understand the needs of our clients and really kind of narrow down the scope of the project so that we are doing the thing that is going to actually practically help solve the issue that needs resolving. And the kind of second tier, the follow-on to this, is the quick AI implementation, which is effectively what we have done here with Spatial.Host. And this includes, implementation of a white-labeled, Luci AI Copilot, which integrates one critical database, one sort of main database, and two external feeds. And this is something that's deployable on a timescale of 8 weeks, really. And for broader, kind of bigger projects, right, we also provide tailored solutions, which basically come in and offer automation on a much broader range of problems, and this includes a fully customized solution plans with a feasibility study and a prototype. So I am genuinely quite thrilled for the future, for where all of this is going, and I think that a remarkable enhancement of productivity is ahead.
Thank you, Constantine. And Dalton, if you have any closing thoughts, I will turn it over to you.
I think overall, one of the themes here is lowering the barrier of entry, right? So from a spatial host perspective, it's from the architecture and the deployment patterns of ArcGIS Enterprise as one of the more complex deployments, but among other applications, and then integration with the Luci AI technology just lowers the barrier of entry for the knowledge set it takes to be a professional in the industry. So kind of enabling AI as a GIS tool and helping to just lower that barrier of entry for folks to use that on a consistent basis and really elevate the entirety of the industry in doing so. So also very excited for the partnership and excited to see where it evolves from here.
All right. Well, thank you again to everyone for participating, taking your time to be here with us today, and then also for folks who have tuned in to watch the webinar. So if you did like what you saw today, definitely please be sure to like our video, and feel free to drop a comment or question or suggest a future webinar in the YouTube comments section. We will be checking those, and definitely be sure to stay tuned for future webinar topics. Thank you very much, everyone.